Hey everybody. Put some feelers out there to all of you, kind of find out what everybody'd like to hear me talk about with regard to my experiences in travel. Something that might be able to be used by some of you, maybe all of you, to help make your process at the airport, hotels, airlines a little bit easier. And the first one that someone came up with was pre-check. There's a couple of things that we can talk about pre-check, but what I really want to talk about first is the program itself. Uh, Something that's not as readily available across the U.S. is called Clear, and then finally Global Entry, uh, which helps you get back into the U.S. A little bit quicker than what we've seen in the past. So, starting with pre-check, this came about because you do have people that travel quite frequently. They got tired of standing in the lines. And as we know, after September 11th, we were taking off our shoes, we were taking off belts, all of our stuff have to come out of our bags. And your business travelers, people that travel quite a bit, it got to be a nuisance for them. So what TSA came up with, or the Transportation Security Administration, was pre-check. And it's a system where they go through and basically evaluate the person, do background checks, make sure that they're not on no-fly list, that they're not a terrorist, something like that. And it allows them to go through security with a much less intrusive experience. Sometimes you do get randomly selected as you go through, so that they might do a swipe on your bags, or if they see something that's, as it goes through the screening, that it flags it, they'll pull you to the side, and it's typically maybe a minute or two of time that you have to spend extra. But basically, you're not having to get undressed to go through security, as a lot of people have experienced for the last 20 years. So, pre-check, you start out with an online application. The initial application is $85, and it's good for 5 years. You just go through the CBP, TSA, and you fill it in, and then about a week you'll get a conditional approval, and it gives you a known traveler number. And then whenever you are booking a flight, what you're able to do is you put your known traveler number in there, so that when you go to get your boarding pass, it'll say pre-check. Different kinds of pre-checks you'll see. There's the TSA Pre-Check on your, if you use your phone as a boarding pass, it's right above the QR code. It says TSA Pre. Or if you use the paper boarding pass that you get at the gate, it will have TSA Pre-Check written in big bold font along the bottom. It's very important, because one of the more aggravating things for those of us who do go through pre-check is for someone that is not pre-check. What they'll do is they get to the line, they want to argue with the TSA agent that, oh, they should have pre-check, they're first class, they should get pre-check. It's not up to the agent to decide whether you get it or not. And if you look at your boarding pass and it's not there, then you think it should be, then please take it up with the airline. Don't wait until you get in line to argue with the agent, because at that point you're holding up everybody else behind you. To go along with pre-check, you might get it without enrolling. Minors might get it as they're not seen as a threat, and a parent with them might get it, but you're not guaranteed to have everybody on your reservation get pre-check. So if you do want to be able to take advantage of this program, it is important that you go ahead and enroll and just give yourself plenty of time before your flight. Like I said, what it does is you don't have to take out computers and iPads. You don't have to take off your shoes and belts, and you don't have to go through the machine where you hold your hands above your head and it takes a swipe of you. You just walk through the regular metal detector, as we did before September 11th. The next one I want to talk about is a program called Clear. It's $179 for a year per person. That price can be brought down based on if you have loyalty status with United and Delta. They have basically, through them, they will give you a credit to take a lot of that cost away, but you still have some burden you will have to carry, And if you want to add somebody in your family, that'll be $60 per person that's over 18. And I say over 18 because if you have someone who is a minor traveling with you and you have clear, they are able to go through with you. What's really neat about this program is your identification is already verified. And you register for it. When you go into the airport for the first time, you do your biometric screening. They'll take your fingerprints, thumbprints, retina scan. I believe they even took a picture of my face. Or you can use your ID. I did all of them in case my thumbprints or fingerprints are slowing me down. They can do a retina scan. What it does is it puts you at the front of all the lines. So if you don't have pre-check and you've only gone with clear, it'll put you immediately in front of all the lines, because then all the TSA agent's going to do is check your boarding pass. They're not going to check your passport or your driver's license. If you have pre-check and there's a long line, you go to the front of the pre-check line, show them your boarding pass, boom, you walk right into the pre-check line. You're at the gate 5-10 minutes after you got to the airport. When I registered for this, what I did is I did it before I got to the airport. I knew I was going to be landing in Bush. As I was leaving, I did my biometric screening, went down, caught the Uber, went to the house. The problem with Clear is it's not as readily available as you're going to find with pre-check. You're going to find it in the big metropolitan areas. It's going to be New York, Washington, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, and then some of your West Coast cities. So it is a big price to pay, and if you're not in an area that has Clear Me, I honestly would not recommend getting this because you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. The only reason that I'm doing it is because my travel credit card that I use gives me an annual credit, so I went ahead to take advantage of the credit, signed up for it, and I have used it twice since I registered for it a couple of months ago. So like I said, it's up to you. It's purely a economic decision between you and your family if you want to do the Clear Me or Clear, and or you could just stay with pre-check. And finally, there's global entry. And global entry, if there's more work to go into it, but economically it makes sense to get it if you're going to get pre-check. The reason for that is like I said earlier, your pre-check is $85 for a 5-year call to membership. And global entry is $100 for the 5 years. But with that $100, you also get TSA Pre-Check. Now, global entry does require additional work. You are going to have to go to a Customs and Border Patrol location to do basically an interview. They do some fingerprints, take your picture, give you a card, and then you'll find out probably that right now I think it's a day, 2 days you find out that you've been approved for your global entry, and then you're good to go. Like I said, that's the problem. Just a few weeks ago, Katrina and Maverick, we once again took advantage of the credit that my travel card gives for every 4 years. The American Express Platinum card will give us a $100 credit for a global entry membership. So to take advantage of that, we signed up Katrina and Maverick to do it. And there were no available appointments for the interview in Houston for the rest of the year, so they had to go to San Antonio. Now, Maverick did have to do the interview. If you get pre-check, I'm not really sure how it works. If you have minors, like I said, a lot of times they'll get pre-check just because they are younger, and typically they're not going to make them take their shoes off and all that kind of stuff anyway. But with global entry, it doesn't matter if you're 6 months, 6 years, 60. If you want to use global entry, you have to be registered, pay the $100, and go through the process. You might ask, what are they going to ask a 6-month-old for the interview? Obviously, they're not going to ask the 6-month-old anything. They're going to talk to the parents, but they are going to be registered in the system so that when you do arrive back in the country, you are a known traveler. You are going to be processed quickly through, and that's the whole thing with global entry. When you do return to the U.S. from overseas travel, you have to clear customs at your first port of entry. You might not be able, if for those of you watching in Dallas, your final destination might not be in Dallas or Houston. You might come in through Chicago or JFK in New York. So you have to clear customs there, and then what you have to do is you have to collect your bags, recheck them, and then go back through security again. So that's the big advantage to having global entry. It really speeds that process up. If you're looking at a 1 to 2 hour connection on an international arrival, you could really be pushing it getting it to the gate. I missed a connection in Chicago a few years ago. I did not have global entry or pre-check. We were late getting in, and I missed my connection by about 20 minutes. So if I had these two programs at the time, chances are I would have been able to make my flight. Just most recently with global entry, I arrived in Dallas with my mask on. I didn't even have a chance to lower it so that it could take a picture. It knew who I was, birthday, passport number, and the flight I came in. Gave me my receipt. Walked through the serpentine of rope. Handed my receipt to the CBP agent. I walked in, picked up my bags, walked through customs, rechecked, and went back through security. So that's really the advantage of having global entry. You could be coming in, and there could be 3 or 4 flights. Houston, when you come in from Qatar, you're arriving about 15-20 minutes before Emirates coming in from Dubai. So you have 2 planes of about 400 people arriving at the same time trying to enter the country. It could really make for a long process. So by having this, it really does kind of speed it up and make your travel, your time through the airport go a little bit smoother. So, like I said, right now I just wanted to talk a little bit about what these programs are, what you have to do to get set up for them, and also just like I said, the cost implications of signing up for pre-check, clear, and global entry. I do want to say one thing about pre-check. It just came out yesterday that they're going to, with the renewal for pre-check, because they said something like 95% of the renewals occur online. It's a faster process, less burdensome process on TSA. They are going to be dropping the renewal fee if you do it online to $70. So there is a cost savings there when you go to do your renewal. But I really hope that everyone was able to kind of better understand why these programs are in place, how they can benefit you. And like I said, you have to weigh the economic burden to how much you travel and what your time really means to you. Do you want to get to the airport, an hour before you're supposed to board or before the gate closes, get your bag checked and get to the gate? Or do you want to get there earlier? You can stand in line a little bit and just go through the normal process. It's all a matter of what your time means to you and whether it's worth, spending this money so that you can get through these programs and speed up your process. As I said, there are ways through your airlines. There are ways through different travel credit cards. I mentioned that I use the American Express Platinum. There's a Chase Sapphire Reserved, which also has global entry credits. And Delta and United, they have code-branded credit cards, which allow or give you a credit for your global entry as well. So it's just something to kind of look into if that's something you're interested in as a way to take off some of the burden of getting your global entry and pre-check. I hope I've been able to answer some questions and look forward to the feedback from everybody to see what you would like to hear in the future. I already have some ideas based on some of the ideas that have been given. Traveling through the airports with children. What's it like in the lounges? What are ideas for getting food for children? And then also, what I'd like to talk about 1 or 2 times is, what's it like traveling with an autistic person? I think it's very important to be able to make that a smooth for them, smooth for you, and also smoother for the other travelers around you. Flying is a stressful time for a lot of people, so it's important that you make it pleasurable for not only the other travelers, but definitely make sure that it's pleasurable for you and your children. because to me, I love being at the airport. I love being on the plane. So you just want to make sure that you enjoy the time that we have. I tell Katrina all the time, we get one ride on this roller coaster. So you want to make sure that you do what you can to make sure that it's not stressful and you can enjoy it. So look forward to everybody's feedback, and I will look forward to doing the next video probably the next week. All right, everybody, take care, stay safe, and look out for each other.